Our words have power. There's a proverb that says words have power. They give life or death, right? There's fruit or life or death in the power of the tongue. And the last part of that says, and you choose. It's a weird thing, right? Because sometimes we're more comfortable in the brokenness than we are in the freedom, because we're not familiar with the freedom. We're not familiar with what it looks like to be successful. All of my life's experiences, all of my training, my teaching, my businesses, my degrees, my coaching, my leadership development, everything I've done, I digitized and I communicated and created a brain inside the app. We all struggle with that. Businesses, professionals, entrepreneurs. We think, man, we're just so driven and we're out there and we're just always on the edge or over the edge of something, right? We're always creating, building, growing.
Welcome back to the Hustle and Grind podcast, the show where we dig into why real entrepreneurs trade comfort for conviction. This isn't about vanity metrics or overnight success. It's about the stories behind building a reputation that actually matters. I'm your host, Andrew, keynote architect, platform builder, and fellow founder in the trenches. Today, I'm sitting down with Rick Torrison, the founder of Right Now Leadership, LLC. With over 25 years of experience, Rick is a best-selling author and certified coach who has built an international reputation for helping leaders break through barriers and unlock their full potential. His journey is a testament to the power of transformation, born from overcoming immense personal adversity to becoming a trusted authority in leadership and growth. His work with Fortune 500 companies and his proprietary coaching framework have empowered countless entrepreneurs to crush their limiting beliefs and achieve extraordinary results. So Rick, thank you so much for being on the show today. Truly appreciate you being here. It's going to be a lot of fun chatting with you. You've got an awesome backstory and you're doing some amazing things, and I'm really excited to bring them to folks. So thank you again, man.
Man, Andrew, it's my pleasure. I'm excited to be with you on the hustle and grind and, getting after it today, sharing some knowledge with each other and hopefully adding some value to your people, man. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely, man. So I know we go into a bio before we start, but I always like hearing people say, what's your backstory? Like what do you do and why do you do it?
What do I do? So, I will preface by saying I'm in my 60s, and I know all of the people, if they're watching this, are going to go, there ain't no way. I know. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. But, I'm in a different place in life now where the hustle and grind that I was doing for, 20, 30, 40 years, right, really working, I'm now in the place of looking at wanting to be in the position to add value, as much value as I can to as many people as I can. And that's my driver. It isn't the building. It's of my business. It's the building of other lives. And so really what I do now, what I'm all about, and I do coaching, leadership development, personal, mental, mindset coaching with people. And what I'm really about right now is calling out the greatness inside of people, helping them identify limiting beliefs that are keeping them from the greatness that I know they have in them. And some people are already doing great things in some areas of their lives, but there's other areas they've just kind of cordoned off and said, I'm just not any good at that. And so helping people identify limiting beliefs, replace those with limitless beliefs, and then help them build roadmaps to their greatest significance, is really, whether it's personally or professionally. And so that's where I'm spending my energy and my time, and then building community around like-minded people that are speaking life into each other. We've got enough people speaking death over each other right now. And I'm like, man, we need to be calling out the greatness and speaking life and calling people to that future destiny and hope that they were born and created for.
It was amazing. So I found out about speaking life into people from a friend of mine, Kelly. We had a men's retreat, that was a number of years ago. And that's one of his big things is, the vibe and speaking life into people. And it was weird at first because I'd never been used to that. That was not something that we normally do with people, is saying, dude, you're really great at this. Dude, you're a rock star. Especially as guys, we don't hear that. And there's this kind of mindset around, we shouldn't have to hear it because we shouldn't seek external validation. There's a bunch of reasons behind it, but honestly, I felt like $1 million.
Listen, our words have power. There's a proverb that says words have power. They give life or death, right? There's fruit or life or death in the power of the tongue. And the last part of that says, and you choose. Mm-hmm. So there's this invitation to choose the words that we speak and declare, one over others, which is powerful, but really the ones that I deal with the most are the ones that we speak over ourselves, and the ones that are spoken up here that no one hears. Not the ones that you hear me say, oh yeah, I've got this, I'm good, I know how to do this, I'm fine. While narrative is playing inside going, yeah, not really. And I'm afraid and I don't think I can and I'm not and I won't. Right. And those are the ones that really do the greatest damage that no one sees and no one hears.
I heard somebody say years ago, they're like, if somebody outside of me spoke to me the way that my internal voice did, I wouldn't be friends with them.
Yeah, that's very true. It's very true. And we don't even realize we do it. We have some narratives that we play over our lives, that we've been playing them for so long, we call them normal, right? And as soon as they become normal, our beliefs become normal. Like, I just can't, I'm not, I won't. And that becomes our narrative, and it becomes normal. We start settling for something less than we were actually born and created for. And we don't even realize it, right? And so we just have that ceiling that's there, and it's a real ceiling, but we don't see it and don't recognize it. We just say, that's always how it's been. This is just the way my life has worked out. This is just what I'm capable of, right? And so we start settling. And I don't think we ever meant to settle.
Yeah. Or we don't have a standard that's different. We're so used to it that being outside of that is honestly scary sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. It's a weird thing, right? Because sometimes we're more comfortable in the brokenness than we are in the freedom, because we're not familiar with the freedom. We're not familiar with what it looks like to be successful, right? To live in that space. And then you got to maintain that. Man, that's scary. Yeah. Right? Let me just stay where I am, where I'm comfortable. Right. And when we get in our comfort zone too, I tell people, like, our comfort zone, if we're not careful, becomes our danger zone, right? Because it becomes that normal that we start just living into. And so, yeah.
And I think that's one of the gifts that entrepreneurs have, is we're really good at consistently living outside that comfort zone. Like, our comfort zone, we've left behind. And once we get into that world, now we need to get out of it. And I think it's, the only way out is through. I heard it put once. So you've got to face this stuff and then move forward with it. And that's the only way to truly conquer it.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So you actually came up with something really cool, and I want to go into that. Before we go into your backstory and how you got to this point, you actually released an app, and I'd like you to talk a little bit about it, because honestly, I think it's a really cool app. I think it's a really cool idea.
Yeah. Here's the first thing I'll say, which is not a very, good supporter of my app, is no one needs another app. I mean, listen,
there's a lot.
If you could see my screen and I scroll through, right, and I start scrolling, okay, guys, let me show you my apps. Yeah. How many of these apps do I actually do anything with, right? I'm like, and so the reality was, I didn't create an app because I thought the world needed another app. I learned through the app process of looking at this that it's a great repository and a hub for everything I've done in my life. So I have used it to take all the platforms and all the things that I've built and all the different places. And I have taken the last 40 years of leadership, ministry, coaching, professional development, things that I do. And I've put all those programs, all those teachings, all that stuff in this app. So it's easier for me to, when I'm talking to someone, oh yeah, you'd like to talk about this 30-day mindset thing that I do. Great. It's in this app. Or, hey, you want this book it's in the app, right? And so now it's one place for everyone to curate stuff. So it was really a help for me. But as I was doing that, I thought, but there's a lot of value here that I want to give to people. And so the app is called Living Limitless. It goes around the theme from my life, which is the idea that I believe everyone was born limitless, and then life happens, right? And then we start interpreting life and we start settling and all those things we just mentioned. And I thought, well, how can I multiply as I get older? How can I multiply the value of my life? If there's any wisdom in my life of my 60 plus years, if there's any knowledge that can be passed on and shared that could help someone, how do I curate that in a way that can reach as many people as possible? And so that's when the app idea came up. And so in the app, it has got the main thing. There's 3 pieces of value that I think are the upfront value of the app. The first is it has a daily push, and that daily push is a mindset that comes to your phone at 6 a.m. It's a declaration. It either is I am, I can, or I will. I wear a bracelet, and that's part of the mantra stuff, the framework I do that says I can, or I will, I can, I am. Right. And so every day there's a mantra that comes to you, and a declaration to set your intention for the day, a 60-second video, some quotes, and some just things to help you set your day. And that's comes every day, 6 a.m. It's there as you start your day. It's waiting for you. So that's a upfront value of just speaking life into people, like we said, in a way to be encouraged when you start your day. Second thing is it is a portal or a gateway to community with like-minded people, where I'm in there trying out new things, talking, do live coaching every week in this community. So people bring questions, say, hey, I'm struggling with this limiting belief, and we'll coach right there. And so we go through this stuff. And so it is a playground of people, entrepreneurs, leaders, individuals who are seeking to go to the next level. And they're encouraging one another. So it's an active, engaged community. That's through the portal. The third thing that's really cool that I had no idea about was how it was going to impact stuff was I created an AI clone, a chat GPT, but it's my clone. It's my brain. It's called the Rick bot.
I love
That's the best I could do. Okay, Andrew, I'm sorry.
It works. It's okay.
But here's what's cool is I spent 4 months training the brain with everything I've ever done, all of my life's experiences, all of my training, my teaching, my businesses, my degrees, my coaching, my leadership development, everything I've done, I digitized and I communicated and created a brain inside the app. And you can ask it any question from life. I was a pastor for 15 years, right? So all my ministry stuff's in there. If people want to ask that question about that, business development, I've been an entrepreneur. I've had 3 businesses. Everything I've done and learned and all the coaching and leadership I do is in there. So you can ask it any personal or professional question. The cool thing is it responds with compassion and empathy. It meets you where you are and says, hey, I see you. Let me tell you about this situation that I experienced for myself, and let me ask you some more questions. And it starts dialoguing with you as a human to a human, even though it's an AI clone. Yeah. It doesn't pull from, and this is good or bad, it doesn't pull from the internet. So it's only pulling from my history. So therefore, the more you know me and trust me, the more you go, I value Rick. I trust him. So I'm in there. If you don't, you're like, well, what does he know? And, is he brainwashing me this way? So it has this, this give and take in it. But what it is my desire of it wasn't to make money from it, was to add value. And there's a generation of 20 to about 33, really 18 to 33, that live their life on ChatGPT. It's their therapy, it's their coach, it's their teacher, it's their friend, it's their part, it's all the things, right? And I didn't realize until some of the recent issues that have happened in our nation, and again, I don't want to get political, but with the Charlie Kirk thing, what happened for me was I really realized why I created this app, because all the anger, the rage, just the emotion that was going on in the generation, they didn't know how to process it. So I'm talking to that generation a lot. And they're asking ChatGPT, I'm angry. I don't know how to deal with this. I'm frustrated. I don't, whatever the questions are, the emotions are flowing out of them, and they're going to internet, to chat, to find their solution. And I woke up the day after the Charlie Kirk stuff, and it hit me. It was like, I just had this inclination. This is why you created the app. This is not the app, but this is why you created the bot. Because it's giving an alternative. So I started going out and testing this with about 30, 20 somethings, Gen Zers. I said, do you live on ChatGPT? Yes. Would you ask my bot? And I gave it to them, said, hey, don't have to tell me, and it's not going to come to me. Will you ask this chat the same question you just asked, the last question you asked ChatGPT? Sure. 100% said, I will not go back to ChatGPT. 100% said, this is so much more powerful, personal. I felt seen, I felt heard, and the advice and questions it asked me made me feel valued. Nice. 100%. I mean, I was blown away. I had one young lady, she's a single mom, 24 years old, working a coffee truck, struggling with being a single mom, making enough money, and wanting relationship. And I didn't know any of this. She's making my coffee. There was no one there. She's okay. She asked it a question. She starts bawling. I'm looking at her, waiting for my coffee. I'm apologizing. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Are you okay? She says, no, you don't understand. I asked the same question last night to chat. The question I asked it, and she was asking about relationship. How do I manage and deal with, and I'm feeling this way. And she said, your answer felt like it heard me, understood, and met me where I was. And it felt like I was talking to a real person, which she was essentially, because it's my life in there. Yeah. And that in that minute, I went, okay, that's why I did this. Mm-hmm. Right. And so that's really where my energy is right now, is download the Living Limitless app, get into this chatbot app. And it has a professional side. I asked all my clients, hey, ask it about team development and coaching and culture and leadership and speaking. Right. And so they did, and it was powerful, and they loved it. And they said, man, this is really good. But it really hit me with this generation that's living their life on this internet world looking for answers.
And
so it's such a long answer, Andrew. I'm sorry, but that's raw right now. Like that all came to me the app's only been out for 3 weeks, and this all has hit me in the last 15 days of going, maybe there's a real application for this alternative to the chat world that someone else is controlling and manipulating people through, right? Maybe this is something that can disrupt that a little bit. So anyways, that's what I'm after right now. That's what I'm living into.
Yeah. And if you guys are interested listening, there is a link in the chat, the description, link in the show notes. Let's try that again.
Yeah, thank you.
Just to I'm used to ChatGPT at this point. There's a link down there to download it. But I think it's really important. A lot of people especially younger folks, are going to ChatGPT as sort of a therapist to really help walk through this. And while it's good to bounce information off of, I think it takes a little of everything. Right. Yeah. It doesn't actually have like specialized knowledge. It doesn't have one person's way of doing things. It takes the gamut and averages them. It's a really good statistical model. And I think that's what people have to realize about, these large language models, But
now listen, Andrew, they can't go and ask it how to change the oil in their car. I'm not very good at that. Right? I just want people to know you're not. It will help you build a framework of how to crush a limiting belief, right? But it's not that kind of chatbot. You can't use it for hey, how do I make lasagna? I mean, you can try it. I don't know if you'll get lasagna because I love to cook, but.
I don't know. We just tried that a while ago. There was a meme out a while ago when Google was first putting Gemini notes at the top saying, here's a rundown of what your search results had. And they're starting to say things like, if you want to keep toppings on a pizza, use glue. And I wasn't quite sure if this was a glitch or if Skynet was trying to cull the herd a bit. I don't know. I had to question some motives here.
That's funny.
Going back to what you're doing with the AI bot, and one of the reasons I wanted to bring this up, and you bring up a really, really good point here, is that we've seen with the Charlie Kirk incidents, and there was a recent bombing of a church in Michigan recently.
Yeah.
And what this is it's a symptom of a much deeper problem. We have a lot of people who are very angry about various things. Our media fuels this stuff. It's just designed to be clickbait and designed to keep us negative and in a fear-based state, which is really you're controllable when you're scared.
Yes.
And they have no idea how to deal with it. People of our generations that, we were disconnected for most of our lives. Now everyone is connected all the time, and it's really hard to separate from that. So having a really honed in, specialized bot that will help people to just walk it through. It's anonymous. Nobody knows what you're doing. If you just need to ask a question, you don't want to actually ask a human, having that is.
But it's a human that's on the other side of it that built it. And that's the unique dynamic, right? It is limited, but it's also, I've got 40 years of life experience, right? This is what I've done. This is what I get paid to do. The coaching that it does in there and the questions it asks are the questions I would ask you if you and I were coaching. It's how I would walk you through that. You would be paying me a lot of money to have this relationship coaching. It's all there. Now, it's not a human, and it will get to me if you need to, but it's a great start to disrupt. I see it as a disruptor for what the places they're going. And, it won't be for everybody, but if I can give some people an alternative where they can read something that says, listen, I see you, I hear you, you're not broken, you're not a mistake, and there is a positive way to process your anger or your fear or your anxiety, and here's some things you can consider, and then ask you, and you can keep digging and digging, and it will remember the conversation. So if you come back 5 days later, if you register, and it's no cost, if you register and sign in and you come back 5 days later and ask me a question, it will go back and, hey, you remember when we had this conversation? And it'll say, Andrew, I remember talking to you and I remember what we talked about. And so I would encourage you to, and it will pick up right where it left off. So it's not just a one and done and gone, right? It actually gives them a place 24/7. And I had another young lady works at this sauna place that I go to, and 2:00 in the morning, she had just broken up. Her boyfriend just broke up with her, right? And so she's distraught. 2:00 in the morning, what am I going to do? And she's mad. I had just talked to her that day about this bot. I said, hey, if you ever 2:00 in the morning, she's on there going, I am so sad and broken, and I can't believe he did this to me and all that. She said it got her through the evening. She said, I felt better about myself, and I had a new perspective on what just happened. I was like, okay, then if that's the only person to help, so now I'm good. I mean, I was like, okay, there's really something to this. Now I'm just trying to figure out how to get it out there.
Yeah. Exactly. And it's nice to hear that what you're creating is really making that sort of an impact. That's something I think that all of us as entrepreneurs want to do, is we want to make that
100%.
impact. And I'm really happy to hear that. So I want to go into your backstory, though, because everyone's got a backstory about why they do things like this. So I'd love to, and you have a really interesting, colorful backstory, and I want to hear about it. So tell us about your backstory and what got you to the point where you started coaching people and then eventually came on, with this app.
Yeah. So the cliff notes, right? I'm a person of people say, oh, I'm a person of few words. I wish I could say that. My kids wish I could say that. Listen, I'll tell you. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to divert. My kids love in fact, people that know me and coach with me love the bot better than me. And here's why. They said, man, Rick, this is awesome. This is better than you. And I was a little hurt. I was like, well, what do you mean? Man, I can ask it the same question I'd ask you, and I can get an answer in 5 minutes that would take me 90 minutes when I'm talking to you. And I was like,
touched and understood all at once.
So my kids, which is nice, so I don't get all the 3 o'clock in the morning calls from my, young adult kids. Now they just do the box; they can get a quicker answer. The only thing they can't get from the bot is Zelle money.
There you go. Awesome. Exactly.
So they still got to call me and say, "Hey, I need some money." So, anyways, so my story, my journey has been an interesting one. I will cliff note the pieces that brought me to where I am. Raised by a single mom and a grandma back in the 60s, and my mom had to work multiple jobs to make ends meet, for our families, which means she needed to get help raising me. So she had a babysitter, and so she trusted that babysitter to take care of me when she's working in the evenings. Well, without getting into a lot of stuff, there was some abuse that happened with the babysitter, and I was about 6, 7 years old. And I share that with you because that I realized that there were some markers. We all have trauma points in our lives, things that mark us, good and bad. Some are great and some are not good. And some are really intense and some are minor, but they still mark us, right? They shape our thoughts and our beliefs. Well, from that experience, I began to create a narrative in my head because my mom trusted the babysitter. So if mom trusts the babysitter, I should trust the babysitter. So if the babysitter is doing something wrong, it must not be the babysitter's fault because my mom would be at fault. So it must be something that I've done, must be something I've created. I must not be worthy. I can't be loved. Women want to hurt me. All those stories and you're a young kid, so you don't share it anywhere. It plays out in this narrative. Here's what happens in the framework of my coaching. How we interpret experiences in our lives become what we ultimately believe about ourselves and the people in the world around us. Because we tell ourselves this, so it must be true. So now I believe this about myself. And here's the thing, our beliefs drive our behaviors. You cannot act in a way contrary to what you believe. You can do it for a while, but you're always going to end up going back to your actions mirroring what we ultimately believe. So my belief was I wasn't valuable, I wasn't worthy, right? These things. My behaviors then for the next over 20 years started to mirror and reflect this belief that I wasn't worthy, I didn't have value. Does that make sense? So I get to 25 years old and I meet this young lady and I'm like, man, this is the person I want to marry and I want to be with her. And we're going, I decide I'm going to propose. We go out to dinner. I proceed to make her so angry, which is what I had done in every relationship along the way, is when they got too close, I broke it off and I did something stupid and I acted in a way to make sure that it never got that far, right? But this one was different. And I made her so mad, she was ready to kick me out, right? And I was like, man, and then it hit me. I was like, why do I keep doing this? So in that, what I realized, there was a good coach in my life at that point, a mentor that was working with me, asked me some questions about stuff. And I was like, man, I don't know why I don't want to do this. And so he started asking me questions about, where this comes from and what I'm doing. And I looked at my life and saw this pattern. And I realized it came from the belief that I took on when I was young about my value and my worth. And then he asked me a question. He says, well, those beliefs that you took on, the situation was true. It was real. It happened. It's traumatic. It wasn't good. But he said, are the beliefs that you took on from that, were those true? And I sat there and I went, well, no, they were lies. So you started believing lies about your value and worth at 6 years old. And I sat there and I was like, yeah. And those lies that you believe to be true about you, this is who I am, my identity, started to play out in actions that started to mirror that belief. He said, so if those weren't true, what is true? And so I started to reframe that narrative. I am valuable. I am worthy. I am lovable. I am able to be loved, right? I have worth, and all women don't want to hurt me. That one did, but all women don't. They're actually for me, and we're meant to be part. So I reshaped the narrative, right? In my late 20s, told myself something different, began to believe something different. And then what happened? My behaviors began to follow those beliefs. And now I've been married for 34 years, right? And I say all that to say that story encapsulates what drives me and what I do, because we all have limiting beliefs. We all have areas of our lives that we have taken on a belief based in a lie that is now limiting our ability, our success, our productivity somewhere in our lives. And so we're settling for something less. And I thought, man, that's not okay. And so that was really what started driving a lot of the coaching and leadership and stuff that I was doing. But the coaching side of it was helping people identify their limiting beliefs. And I can help someone find a limiting belief in 15 minutes if they're willing. And then once we identify it, we can source it, truth or a lie, what's truth, replaying the truth, make a new narrative, new declaration, and then start building out new behavior patterns to change the outcomes. Right. And so that was really, my backstory is that process and that journey of my own trauma, the things in my life that I had to work through and realize, man, that doesn't have to define my future. Mm-hmm. Right. And so it's kind of the cleaning the lenses thing. So I don't know if that's one of those things in my journey that brought me to kind of my passion and my heart of where I am today. Mm-hmm. And so this idea of being born limitless, created for more, speaking life, and coaching people and teams and organizations, that is where I find my greatest passion right now, and the greatest gift I can give to people. And it's not about building anymore. I owned a coffee shop, a commercial cleaning company. I planted churches. I've had all the businesses I've built, and I was like, that's not it right now. It's not where I'm at.
Yeah.
So again, long answer, but I hope that was kind of what you were looking for.
No, that's exactly it. And it makes sense that, now that you've overcome these things, now you want to share it with others. And I think a lot of coaches have come from very, what can be considered really negative backgrounds, but it's really just a challenge. I mean, it's not that there's something wrong, or it's bad, or it's not right, or some of the, whatever word you want to put to it. But it's also, I'm using this experience that I had to be able to better people. And I think with people with traumatic backgrounds, that's something that can be a really powerful force, because you've been there.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think any of us have to. And here's the thing. Someone asked me, so what if I don't have a big traumatic story? And I said, that's okay, but we still have limiting beliefs. We still have places that we've taken on thoughts about our value and our worth in our lives. And it doesn't have to come from trauma. It could come from someone saying over your life, man, you're not a good writer. Yeah. Right, in school. And so you didn't do very well in English. So you just decided I can't write. That was another one of my stories, the red pen story. Right. And so I spent 45 years of my life believing I couldn't write, but wanted to write a book. Yeah. I reframed the narrative. I write a book in 6 months, and it's a bestseller 6 months later. And all of a sudden, I'm like, wait, I've told my life for 45 years of my life, I can't write. Mm-hmm. I'm not a writer. Yeah. That was a lie. Yeah. It wasn't a big trauma. It was just something I took on at a place in my life that said I can't write.
I did the same thing with sales. I thought for years, it's like I would never have a sales job in my life. And then I finally get to a point where I can try it out. And wow, I'm really good at sales. Right. I just missed out on a lot of opportunities because of my limiting belief and the beliefs that I had in the back of my head that sales had to be sleazy, sales had to be these certain things. And it was absolutely not correct. Yeah. So
so good. So, and we all struggle with that. Businesses, profession, entrepreneurs, we think, man, we're just so driven and we're out there and we're just always on the edge or over the edge of something, right? We're always creating, building, growing, and think, well, man, I don't have any limit. No, we're good at dreaming, visioning, starting, building, but there are places where we're like, now I've got it built. I can't maintain. I can't lead. I can't do this. I can't multiply. I can create. And maybe that's true, but I've found in the entrepreneurs I work with, that's not true either. Yeah. Right. And so they just have to think things and see things differently to realize, hey, here's the thing I tell people. If you're willing to challenge your normal, right? And if it ends up still being normal, great. No harm done. But if you're willing to challenge the normal that you're living in, I said, that's where the breakthrough begins. Challenge the normal. If it ends up being normal and it is normal, great. But what if that normal you're living under isn't normal? What if there's something greater that you have missed out on, like you and I just said, because we've said this is normal? And so that's where I really start. I say, hey, what is the thing that you call normal in your life? And are you willing to challenge it and see if it actually is, or what if it's not?
Yeah. And most of the time what I've seen, because I tell stories for a living, most of the time what I've seen is it's not. It's a limited belief we have in ourselves 100%. That may not necessarily, if you ask somebody else from the outside, they'd be like, what are you talking about? No, you're actually quite good at that. Yeah, same thing. So,
yeah. So it's been fun. I love that, because I love the aha when people go, wow, I didn't, when you see someone get it,
yeah,
and that information becomes revelation, where it's like, then it becomes transformation. They actually then change their lives because of it, because they've owned they've seen it, and it's like real, and now their actions are going to support it. And man, the sky's the limit when that happens with people.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Rick, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really, really appreciate it. A lot of amazing wisdom. Again, there's going to be more in the show notes that'll show you how to get a hold of Rick, either on socials or the app that we talked about earlier, the Living Limitless app. Anyway, thank you so much for being on today, brother. I appreciate it.
Andrew, it's my pleasure, man. Blessings. I love what you're doing, and I'm honored to be here, and I hope your crew got some value from our time today.
Absolutely. Thanks for tuning in to the Hustle and Grind podcast, where we unpack what it really takes to build something that matters. If today's conversation hit home, do me a favor. Share it with someone who's in the trenches too. And if you're building your own brand, platform, or message and want help turning that story into serious authority, head over to theauthorityforge.com to see how we can help. Until next time, keep showing up, keep shipping, and keep chasing the work that sets you on fire. I'm Andrew, and this was the Hustle and Grind podcast.